Fit for Life Radio, episode number 135. And today, your regular host, I'm Gary, here with Will.
What up?
And we have special guest, Dexter Moore. So hard not to say Dexter Morgan.
Dexter Moore.
Sure you've heard. Sure you know all about that. He is an ACE CPT functional training specialist, pose method running technique specialist, run coach, and you also recently, what'd you say you also?
Yeah, I recently got my RRCA, or Road Runners Coaches of America certification, which is a pretty popular running certification as well, focusing more on building out a plan versus technique, which is what pose method is.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we wanted to have Dexter on today because he also is in the area here with us in Hampton Roads, Coastal Virginia. He coaches some at Orange Theory and rock training.
Yes, sir.
Over there. So, and I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of people at our gym run as a hobby and sport. And while a lot of times people will, if you listen to a lot of our podcasts, think we hate any cardio or running, it's really, we for the most part speak to people trying to lose weight and get started with limited time. And we believe a foundation of resistance training is important. So if you have, 2 hours a week, hey, let's get into 45-minute resistance training sessions and focus on walking, right? Hey, you got more time? Let's fill it in with stuff you enjoy. That could be running. It could be wanting to get into, racing, things like that. And that's where now we have Dexter here let's dive into some of those extra things. I know one of the things I'm most interested in is the pose running method because, running, and we're also going to dive into feet, shoes, barefoot stuff.
Sure.
Something that always stood out to me was, when you're a kid, you don't think about any of this stuff.
You just do it, baby.
But we also kind of have our mechanics probably a little more naturally and not wrecked yet. So with running, it's probably twofold, right? The reason a lot of us can go run so far and do all these things is we have big cushiony shoes, but then they also shift our body and our mechanics, which then can lead to issues. So yes, just kind of dive in maybe with, some of your thoughts, what you've seen, your experiences, and also a little bit how you got into running, because naturally you're a pretty big muscular guy, right? So I always find it funny, like, so like Diego and I, we're naturally thin and small, and actually was very good at running and sprinting, and it's probably what my body type is made for, but I'm like, I gotta be big and strong. And then
it's the converse.
You maybe some of that comes easier, and then the running is really something you've dove into.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty true. I gained weight and put on muscle pretty easily, but I just wanted to run. I started running after my first Spartan race, which was way back in 2012. Went out there. I played soccer my whole life. Felt like I was pretty fit. I was lifting a lot back then. But that was more, young man style lifting. So lots of bench press.
The bro lifting,
curls.
man.
Yeah. So I went out there thinking that I was going to do really well. I was thinking top 10. Mm-hmm. And ended up like 115th. Got passed by a couple women, which is no big deal generally, except that they start 15 minutes after us.
Yeah.
So they caught up and then also passed me. But it was because my running was so poor. I just didn't have the engine for it. And that changed my entire training. At that point, I was less worried about putting on muscle, and I was more concerned about just becoming more all-around fit, which what I needed more than anything was to increase my aerobic base, and specifically with running, because that's what I wanted to do. So,
how old were you at this time?
2012. Man.
So 10 years ago.
That was 10
years.
Yeah,
10 years.
So I was like 26 years old.
Yeah. So, and one thing too, there's always the little things too. You got to play soccer. Did you play soccer growing up as a kid?
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of people too see, if they didn't have, that's a foundation of aerobic base, right? That we developed through fun without any thought.
Without even working.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So then, cool. So you had that first race, and then that humble
pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found from there, and this was a common theme growing up also and playing soccer, is that when I was running, if I was running hard on a trail, it was like a 50-50 chance that I was going to roll my ankle. Happened all the time. Eventually, I got fed up, and decided to kind of dig more into it. You know, I was
Yeah.
already a functional training specialist at that point and felt like I should be able to figure this out. This is, part of my job description. This is what I do. And I came to the conclusion that I was just so unstable in my feet and my hips because of just how I, grew up my whole life, always wearing basketball shoes or soccer shoes, and oftentimes shoes that were too small because I wanted to continue wearing them, and my feet were just all jammed together, unstable, weak, and that got me into barefoot style shoes, which, to go back to running form, it made me realize there was a perception
Of
what people thought they were supposed to be doing while they were running, their perception of running was wrong, and that is because of popular running shoes.
Yeah. Well, for like big chunky shoes, I mean, we can land on our heel. If you tell someone to go run barefoot, you automatically
You're not heel striking, man.
You're not running the same way you are with those shoes.
Well, funny thing about that is, in personal experience and practice, I've taken people who are runners and big time heel strikers and put them bare feet on asphalt, and oftentimes they'll still heel strike.
Wow.
Because that movement pattern is so ingrained.
Well, I guess if you do it often,
yeah.
then it is. Yeah, it's ingrained. If I were to do it,
I mean, it's
no way.
The like you said, the movement pattern, our nervous system is so wired for it, and a lot of people too. Pain's not a roadblock for them, right? So they're just like, okay, I'll deal with this.
Yeah.
And especially runners.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I'm a baby, man.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm almost like, that feels kind of weird. Let me stop for a second.
Yeah.
Like people be like, do you do deserter squats? And I'm like,
Nah,
I mean,
bro.
They may be great, but
I like my elbows.
Yeah. I don't want my skin to rub. So, but yeah, one thing I've always admired about you too is, it's hard for people to realize this. I think what makes the best coaches is that everything doesn't come easy and you have obstacles and roadblocks, because then that makes you want to learn more and you kind of learn what works best. But even also with that token is you, even from afar, just, not really like knowing you personally a ton, but you practice what you preach, right? In this industry, unfortunately, believe it or not, it's not always the case,
No.
right?
Sure.
To like live the lifestyle and do that. So I think those are two foundational things that make a great coach, is actually having struggles, not maybe necessarily being naturally the most gifted at some of these things, and then truly believing in it, practicing, preaching, all that good stuff. So.
Yeah. My curiosity has always kind of guided my path with trading. So it's always been something like, I've got this issue. How can I work this out for myself? And then once I've worked it out for myself and, found good methods to do so, I like to share it with people.
100%.
And a lot of trainers, like you were saying, are kind of the opposite. They'll see something and be like, okay, that's popular, that's trending. Let me learn this on a foundation level or, a superficial level so that I can, share 15, 30-second clips on the internet about this thing that I kind of know about.
And kind of care about, but really don't.
So let me ask you this. If you get two people, one person they want to start running, they're new to it, and you also have one person who's been running a long time, they're into it, the sport and the hobby, where would you start each of them? Would it be completely different, or do you kind of strip everyone down to those foundational maybe like things, see where their foot strike is, stride, all that kind of stuff?
So I kind of coach runners two different ways. If you're a straight up beginner, I'm ideally going to take you from the ground up. We're going to work on your form. We're going to do lots of run, walk stuff, lots of drills just to kind of get this movement pattern drilled in so you can have a good base to start from. If you've already been running for a while and you want that help for whatever reason, if you're hurt or your performance isn't where you want it to be, then yeah, definitely. Let's do a video analysis. Let's see what you look like, and let's see how we can tweak your form, what we can cut away to make you more efficient. But that's often not the case. Most of the time when experienced runners come to me and they want to train for a specific race, which is what I offer, they just want, how far do I run? How fast do I run? What days do I run on? Yeah, they want
the
structure,
programming.
Exactly. Which is cool with me also. If you're not hurt and you don't want if you don't want that specific help, more power to you. But when you do, when you start cranking up that mileage, when you start cranking up that intensity and you start to feel a little funky, then, come on back. We'll talk about, again, what you can cut away, how you can become, more injury resilient and stop asking your body to do things that it's not meant to do, so you're less prone to injury from that standpoint.
Do you see that runners do try to, like, every run is like, I'm going to try to get 1 second faster. And so they're pushing their max intensity all the time, and that you have to pull them away from that.
Yeah, almost always.
Yeah.
'Cause that's an intuitive
It really is.
you know, thing. Like and you kind of see it in strength training also. It's, you think progressive overload. You're like, I'm going to run this pace today. I'm going to go, 5 seconds faster next week, 5 seconds faster next week, and my body should be making these adaptations.
Yep.
But with running, that's not how it works, unfortunately.
No.
You've got different energy systems that you have to train individually to maximize the benefit of each. And
The recovery of nervous system.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I was going to say, running is so demanding.
Yeah.
You need a little more, recovery time between those thousands of reps that you just did per run.
And I think that's something that people forget or just completely overlook. They're like, oh, it's just running. Like, recovery is not very hard because I wasn't lifting weights or anything, but it's rough on you.
Yeah.
It's rough on everything.
Depending on how fast you're running and what your form looks like, every step you're taking on 2 to 3 to 5 to maybe even 7 times your body weight per landing.
yeah.
And that sounds like work to me, again, for thousands of reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of times I always find it interesting, because being in the gym setting, people a lot of times they'll think I need to get in shape to go to the gym, But resistance training is actually great because it's super progressible in that, if you can't do a push-up, maybe your body weight's a lot and it's limiting you, you can lay down and do a dumbbell bench press with 10 pounds and progress from there. So whereas running, it is a body weight activity, right? So if you maybe have a lot of extra body fat, that's actually, you have to now deal with that. Whereas in reality, if you drop that, then it makes these like body weight activities a little more efficient and easier and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
So back with the shoes, the feet. So you personally, do you wear like Vivos and what's the one that Ben wears all the time? Zeros and
yeah, there's a couple of different brands I wear. I wear Vivos more than anything. It's got the biggest selection.
Same.
yeah,
They're
it's best style.
I think they look the
looking.
best.
Yeah, sure. There's actually a company kind of locally here out of Richmond called Kinnis that makes some pretty stylish barefoot style shoes.
I
as
never heard of
well.
them.
Yeah, so check them out if you haven't seen
I got
them.
the Splay.
Yeah, it's actually
They're like just little canvas ones.
that's what I got too.
But I like them. They got good like ground feel and
These are actually
wide toe box.
I haven't seen those. But
probably
yeah, I like
my
them.
favorite as far as feel goes and comfort. Dude, they're
Yeah.
hands down the best. Like
Yeah.
you put them on, you're like a glove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you notice an improvement when you kind of, you had those issues with your ankles and feet, and when you switched kind of your shoe type?
Yeah, I'll say from the jump, I haven't sprained my ankle since.
Yeah.
And I made the switch over to barefoot style shoes in 2017 after a terrain race out in Virginia Beach. But yeah, sprained my ankle for the last time, switched over. I was wearing the Merrill Vapor glove at the time, but there weren't tons of options back
Nah,
then.
I had those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those didn't necessarily have the wide toe box, but they had like the zero drop and good ground feel and everything.
Well, they were significantly wider than the
Yeah, well,
Mizunos
exactly.
that I
Oh
wear.
yeah, better than the Nikes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. So now I'm used to, the barefoot shoes, but yeah, even then their toe box was still way wider than Nike and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and I certainly have. I always thought I had mostly flat feet. Over the past couple of years, I've definitely developed some arch. And it's like it's obvious. Like when I'm sitting down looking at my feet, I can see a pretty good arch there.
Yeah.
And
That's one thing I don't think people realize is it's tough. It's like a vicious cycle of like, I have no arch, I need support. Well, you have no arch, you need support because you're weak and you
Because you always have support.
right. So it's like it's tough because it's like hyponatremia, right? Like a symptom of getting close to that of overhydration is thirst. So you think you need more water.
Yeah.
I
don't think people realize that your arch is a network of muscles. So they think it's just something you're born with or you don't, and it's just the shape of your foot. But really, it's a network of muscles. So when those muscles are lax, your arch flattens out.
Yeah.
Because of all that support, never having them do any work, your arch flattens out. Then your feet roll in, your knees roll in, your hips roll in, all that fun stuff. Then your feet turn out, and then you're all messed up.
Yeah.
And then you're going and running.
Yeah, right. And then you're seriously running, and you're doing the run where your system is so internally rotated that when you run, like your leg spins around to the
the
outside.
kick around.
Yeah.
Oh
You know
man.
what's interesting I notice when I see, because this is the problem when and I only know a little bit of this stuff, a lot, so I'm sure. But so say, you're out anywhere and you see someone running.
Woo.
you notice these things,
Oh
right?
my God.
And I'll see people, when I do see that, it's interesting because a lot of times it's just
One leg.
that
Yeah.
does that weird little like kick out.
Yeah.
Um,
But you guys know as strength coaches that, we're super, we're not symmetrical.
No.
Yeah. So, somewhere there ends up being compensation, and then it just digs in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, when you see someone running, and it looks like the most effortless thing,
It's actually fun to watch.
it makes you want to go run.
Yeah.
I'll see people running when it looks effortless. I'm like, oh, man.
Then you see the next guy who looks like he's in pain, and you're like, are you having a good time at all?
Yeah, and you can. It's a clear difference, right? Like you see someone
Very.
running well, and you're like, man, that looks awesome. You see
And it
someone
looks
running poorly, and you're like,
smooth.
that looks like pain.
Yeah, and they always look like rough, and their mechanics are just kind of, they're just getting through it.
Yeah.
So is that for you as a coach? Go into the pose method a little,
Yeah, because I don't know what that is at all, so
Yeah.
I'm actually eager to
And
hear.
is that something that you stumbled on with maybe some issues you were having, or just your curiosity? Let's hear about that.
Yeah, so, I've got that functional training background, and I was looking to improve my running. I had that major Spartan race fail. I was looking to just get better at running, and I've always been just like a reader. So if I wonder about something, I'm going to find the best books about it, and I'm going to, take it all in. And I found Pose Method. The Running Revolution is what the book was called, by Dr. Romanov. And basically, it's like a systematic way to break down running into practicable elements where you can improve each piece and then put it all together. And, as strength coaches, that's appealing.
It is.
I want to be
Absolutely.
able to back the move off. I want to be able to train, just the pull. I want to be able to train, just the press. Train just holding, that rack position with, good, postural alignment. And that's what Pose Method ended up being for running. Dr. Romanov took, thousands of runners, was watching video, and noticed that, while people say that everybody runs differently, there are certain elements that every single runner does.
Yep.
They're invariable. There's 3 of them. It's the pose position, which is what everything's based off of. You've got your runner's pose, and that's when you're in your single leg stance, and all your body weight multiplied by your speed is on that one leg, and you've got this springy S-like position, almost like a figure 4 down low. That's your pose position.
Okay.
From there, in order to move forward, you have to fall from support. So the fall is when people say lean a lot, but that's I think that's bad language. You can bend over at the waist and lean forward, and that's not moving you anywhere.
Yeah.
You literally have to shift your body weight forward, so you're positioning yourself against gravity so that it actually moves you forward. So that's the fall. And then from there, you have to pull your leg up off of the ground. So pull from support, that's how you get airbound. And then pull's target, so where you're trying to pull when you pull your foot up off the ground is you're pulling your foot up under your hip. Your other foot automatically drops back down, and boom, you're back in that pose position where you fall forward, pull that leg up to switch, fall forward, pull that leg up to switch. And that's all that running is. And the more you deviate from that, the less efficient you're going to be, and the higher chance of injury you're going to have.
And when you're running longer distances, that efficiency plays a big role in your times and things like that, right? Because if you have to use more energy, you're going to get tired quicker, right? And form breaks down. And yeah. I know for me, a mistake I would always make was coming from in high school running as a sprinter. You almost it feels like your extra effort is like bigger strides, but I know now it's really you're just hitting with more force and moving further, kind of right, each step. But you think I want to reach for this bigger stride, so then if I went to do longer distance, it's like let me get into this gazelle-like bigger stride, and that's not right.
In my running clinics, because I know people think that's a super common theme with sprinters is to knee drive, drive that knee up, and then reach out to create a nice long stride so you can cover more ground per stride. So in my running clinics, I actually have a video of Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world, and I have it broken down, have it in slow motion, and we kind of go through his entire stride. And you can see that every single stride, he lands right under a center of gravity. So he's not reaching out, he's not knee driving, he's pulling his foot up off the ground, he's falling forward, pulling into that pose position. And what makes him so fast is 2 things. He lands really close to that pose position. So when people say you don't want to overstride, you want to land closer to your center of gravity, the idea of that is you want to land closer to that post position, because that is your center of gravity. So he gets from, his initial contact to the ground to post position almost immediately. And then what makes him, where the speed comes from is the fall. So the more aggressive your fall angle, the faster you're going to go. That means you've positioned your body weight further in front of you so that when you pull up off the ground to change support legs, you're going to be in flight longer and you're going to cover more ground in that stride.
Yeah.
So his fall angle is like 21.5 degrees, and like the maximum fall angle possible before someone would actually fall over is 22.5 degrees.
So he's really on the edge of as far as you can be.
And you think a lot of that at those elite levels too is some of it's just like your body structure, those kind of genetics that play a role. Like with Michael Phelps with swimming, like he has webbed feet and webbed hands and a short torso but long limbs, to where when you get into these angles that help. And then specific sports, like he also probably has some of those things going for him. Yeah, I'm sure.
Being the tallest runner out there, his center of gravity is a little bit higher, and that makes his fall cover more ground pretty much. So he actually has a lower cadence than most of the runners out there. And through analysis, we see that it's because his pull is a little bit late, which is why his cadence is a little bit lower, and also likely why he got that hamstring injury when he was training.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting to kind of break it all down. We did the same thing with Eliud Kipchoge, the sub 2 hour marathoner and world record marathon holder, and his fall angle is like 18 something. And to put like that in perspective, because people think marathon, he's not running that fast.
Oh, when you
that
clip. So when I was living in LA for a couple years, and they had some like major marathon there come through, so people from all over, and we were right near the finish line and watching. So we were probably like 400 yards before the finish, and when these dudes ran by, I mean, it's a full out sprint.
Yeah, it's no joke.
And this is 24
26
26 miles in, and it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, to break it down for people is to put it in like smaller chunks for him. I let them know he's doing 200 meters in under 35 seconds. I'm like, how many of y'all can do 200 meters in 35 seconds?
Yeah, and then repeat for how many times?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
My brain always is able to wrap around like 400 meters.
400 is what I reference.
Even just running 400 meters in 1 minute is like, not many people can do that. It's definitely not elite, right? But then when you see that these guys are, and like a world record's around, 46 or something like that, and like elite high schoolers are running it in 50 or whatever. And so, these guys are running, a clip of 400 meters for...
like a minute 10.
Yeah, it's insane.
For...
how many laps?
Over 100. Over 100 laps.
Yeah, it's wild. And if you don't know, go ahead and go out to a
Go
track,
run a 400, man.
Time yourself, and then see where that is.
And if you hit 1 minute, you're going to be sucking wind.
Yeah. Yes.
Most people, both their hamstrings are probably going to snap.
Yep. Yeah.
They haven't been running. So what do you think, is there like... 2 or 3 or 4 strength training, resistance training exercises that you really like for runners to, whether it be like help improve their running time or just like, prevent imbalances? Do you got any go-tos with that?
Yeah, first of all, I really like single leg stuff, just like you said, to help out with those muscle imbalances. And I like slow eccentric, so for almost anything. So, bench step-ups with a slow eccentric, really focusing on sitting back into that hip, not letting your heel come up on the way down is an awesome exercise for runners to strengthen hip stability.
And if you're listening, the eccentric phase of exercise is typically when like the muscle's lengthening.
Yeah, the lowering.
The lowering phase. So on like a dumbbell bench press, it's when you're lowering the dumbbells. Yeah.
And then a single leg deadlift. So on that one, you'd be hinging forward slowly, back leg staying in line with your upper body, and then come back up at a regular tempo. It's like 3 seconds down, pause, 1 second back up. Is normally what I prescribe for those single leg deadlifts, as well as those bench step ups with that slow lowering on the way back down.
Yeah, we love, a big part of our program is like split squat and its variations.
Yeah.
You know, eventually progress into like a rear foot elevated split squat. Even like I don't know if you played around with like the kind of Bulgarian deadlifts. It's like a single leg. It looks like
It's the same setup as a Bulgarian split squat, but you just hinge back.
Instead.
Yeah, I saw Ryan Fish doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always mess up his name, but he's moving some serious weight on that move also. But I haven't given it a shot yet.
Yeah,
they're good. Doing like a B stance or a staggered stance is a little more like accessible for people because sometimes the setup on anything where your foot's up can be a little shady. So, but they're pretty dope. They're fun.
Well, we'll see. I've done a stagger stance. That's a regular move that I do with kettlebells, but I haven't gone elevated yet.
Yeah. So what about also where should people start, right? Because I think a lot of times when people do want to decide to go running or they've got a race, they pick a race they're going to do and then, okay, I need to train for it. And yeah, people, your natural thing, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to run 2 miles. And I did it today in, 40 minutes, right? So next time I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to do it in 39 minutes and 27 seconds, right? What do you like for like, where should their mindset be? Should they have like a easy run, a hard run, schedule kind of?
And like how often too? Like what frequency for someone who's just starting?
So the number one coaching answer is always it depends.
I knew that was coming because I would say the same thing.
I realized as we talked beforehand about how when a lot of times when you hear stuff like this, you do want to simplify for people.
Yeah.
But a trade-off of simplifying information is giving up nuance, right?
Yeah.
So obviously it depends on the race, it depends on their experience. So I'll make it easier for you. Yeah. So someone they have not been running at all, or they haven't ran in the last 10 years. They picked a 5K to run for. It's 3 months away. Where do they start? They have no injuries, no limitations. Where do they start?
So ideally, we're going to start with running form. If you've got that down already, then we can, really start talking about programming. With 3 months out, we're looking at about 12 weeks. So ideally, I'm going to put them on a 1 month or 4 week base building cycle. And for them, being brand new runners, not lots of running experience, they're going to be doing all or almost all run walk intervals. But the runs need to be at an easy pace as well. So lots of times when people hear intervals, they're thinking, okay, I got to go as hard as I can for whatever distance this is, and then I get to recover.
Yeah.
And normally those intervals start to decline as they go further and further in. But for this specific athlete who's just starting out, we're going to be doing interval training, but it's easy running and walking. Easy running and walking. Nothing should be super challenging yet because we're building that aerobic base. We want to stay in a lower heart rate zone, an aerobic heart rate zone, not create tons of metabolic waste products.
Aerobic heart rate good
conversational pace.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could talk if you wanted to. Yeah.
Maybe say the Pledge of Allegiance or the alphabet or tests that people use often. But
if they have a heart rate monitor, technically it'd be like less than 140 for most people, or 120s is where you want them, or obviously it depends.
Whatever
on
your max heart rate is, below like 83% of that.
Yeah.
Or if you have a friend, that's even better. Go out there and just keep it
and you can
cool,
talk the whole
chat
time.
The whole time. That definitely helps
So
passing.
the challenge in this is it's so hard, and this is probably where having a running coach helps. As with any coaching, information we can find it for the most part anywhere. It's being able to consistently do this stuff, right? Because then to go out and not just push yourself and trust the process, that's the real challenge, right?
Yeah, that's certainly.
I mean, it's like people in the gym like not testing their 1 rep max every week. Like we know people want to do it, and people think that like I need to grind away at this and it'll get better, but all of us know that's not the method.
So they're run walking. Now, do they do this every day, a couple times a week?
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
Couple times a week. We want to give a stimulus. So you've got the workout on Monday, for example, and then you want to give your body a chance to recover. So Tuesday, you're off. Wednesday, you're on. Thursday, you're off. So maybe start out at 3 times a week. And maybe after 2 to 3 weeks of that, we can start introducing a little more volume if you feel like, if you can fit it into your schedule. But with those 3 days, how I would break them up is that one day would be maybe 30 minutes to start. The other day, maybe 30 minutes as well. And then one day a week, I want you to try to go a little bit longer. So I might go 45 minutes to start out, but still those run-walk intervals. So the runs will still be short and easy. You may just have longer walking intervals in between or more intervals all around just to give you more time on feet.
Yeah.
Spend more time out there moving your body.
I think that's one thing people forget about is, our bodies have to adapt, and not just, we have joints, tendons, ligaments, all these things. So if you just go out there and go hard, it's tough on all those different aspects, and we have to train them up and, give them a chance to strengthen and progress as well.
Yeah. Our heart, our lungs, our brain's ability to, handle the stresses of training develops significantly faster than our body structures and their ability to handle the training, which is, one of the reasons why so many people get injured doing too much too soon, is because their heart, physically and figuratively is ready to go, but
everything else.
isn't.
Then the issue with that is, then people blame running for their injury.
Yeah.
And it's like, or say, someone does a deadlift and hurts herself and they blame the deadlift, right? When the reality is like, the answer's probably in our recovery, in our, for the most part, it's probably in our recovery or in our progression, right? It's not necessarily the deadlift. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep, or you try to use too much weight too soon, or you haven't become proficient on the movement. Like you said, our brain, we haven't processed it and kind of really dialed it into where it's almost automatic. And again, it's very nuanced, right? You can't really put a thumb on it, but the reality is the exercise shouldn't necessarily get the bad rap, right?
Yeah.
It's all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what we're fighting against, right? Because there is so many messages of quick fix and, improve your time by 5 minutes, in a week, and then people, who wouldn't want to believe that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I always try to notice when I fall for these traps and other things. You know, like, oh, I want my yard to look nice. You know, and you go like do something once, and you're like, why doesn't it look like a golf course? You know. Well, then you dive in and, it's a process and you need to do all this and you got to do it at the right time and it takes a year, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, it's just like, fitness and all this.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
That people are like, oh, well, I don't want to do it then.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So then it comes down to, well, find your why, right? Like, were you trying to use running to solve the fact that maybe you like hate your job and you want to change it, right? It's not going to fix that. But do you want to run to have a hobby where you gain confidence and it gives you some mental clarity and improves your cardiovascular health? Now, all of a sudden, when you start defining these whys and giving yourself, good reasons, it's super healthy hobby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell my runners as well, all my athletes, is, I love running for the mental benefits. I love it for the cardiovascular benefits. I love it because, it's just like a fundamental human movement. It's part of the reason why we're here today. But I don't love it for weight loss.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you're running well, if you're progressing well, you're becoming more and more efficient.
Yeah.
So you're burning less calories per, effort.
It makes it harder, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, people will come at us all the time that we hate running. No, we just don't like it for fat loss, weight loss, right?
And that's something that for us as a gym, like that's kind of what we focus on is, people that do want to change their body comp, and running's not the answer for that.
And here's the real thing, right? And this is the whole problem with the fitness industry, that a message we're trying to be more consistent on and get across is the problem then too is if you do start, say, something like running for that, and then when the weight loss doesn't happen, well, now you have a bad feeling about the running, right? And your expectations were misguided, and now you're going to miss out on all these positive benefits for why you should be doing it, right? So we like people put it in two separate buckets because you want to relate, exercise to a bunch of positive stuff, to gaining strength, to gaining physical capability, to gaining cardiovascular health, to gaining stress relief, right? Because running, if that help gives you some stress relief, it's a way better habit than having 2 or 3 drinks a day for stress relief, right? Of, alcoholic beverages. So you want to associate all the positives with exercise and keep it that way. And then, like dive into your nutrition, into, some of our habits with how we use food that may be holding us back from weight loss, and, address them separately so that exercise can stay, so that we, as a lifelong habit, because we're never like blaming it for anything.
Right.
And that's most people's yo-yo situation with exercise. They start it simply for weight loss. Doesn't happen. Well,
they get frustrated.
Yeah, let me dump that, or I hate it, or it's just a bunch of negative connotations. So yeah, and that's where, ultimately it's movement, and we do have different systems of, like, you have your muscular system, your cardiovascular system. So everything has a place. And some people are going to gravitate towards, hey, I want to build more muscle or get way stronger. And they may spend more time with resistance training. And some people may want to improve their cardiovascular system, or they, the endorphins that we get from competing and from, endurance stuff is awesome. And we want to do more, running and things like that. So then from there, it's just simply, okay, how much time do I have, and how should I use this time, and then lining everything up.
Yeah, I agree.
With do you do much? I always want to say obstacle course racing. Are you still doing that much, or?
Well, when all the races got canceled, everything kind of backed off a little bit, and they also introduced this event called DECA. Mm-hmm. Spartan Race did. Have y'all heard of DECA?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much it's 10 workout stations, things like lunges and rowing and the ski erg machine and the assault bike and sleds and all types of stuff like that. And there's 3 events. So one DECA Strong that just has those events, back to back to back. You got DECA Mile that has those events split up by a 160-meter run, and DECA Fit that has it split up by a 500-meter run. So it ends up being a mile or a 5K for the full-on DECA Fit. But DECA Mile specifically is what I feel like fits my wheelhouse the best.
Yeah.
It takes a good amount of strength, plus also a good amount of cardio. And I think that is the event that I would excel in the most. So that's been kind of my focus right now.
Okay.
I'll definitely still go out and do a Spartan race. So I'm taking
Yeah.
a team out to the Virginia race in October. I'm really looking forward to it. I also did the Virginia race last year, but I haven't done many recently, no.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when you get into sports and competing, they don't understand the role that genetics play. And, but like, for example, gymnastics, right? People will think gymnastics makes you short. No, people who are short end up being better, at it because of, the nature of what's required, right? And it's interesting, like obstacle course racing, because watching it, I've been in this industry for 17 years, so you see all the things come. It was very similar to CrossFit. And then in the beginning, if you got into it early, if you were just kind of athletic and just had a good work ethic, you could do well and like really be a part of this. And then as it got more popular, more money got involved, then you start getting like these elite athletes or people with skill sets that match up really well. And then all of a sudden it's just both of them, through the roof, right? To where CrossFit, like everyone in there is like an NFL running back type physique and like framework. And then in the obstacle course racing, all of a sudden, if you got anyone with just enough like strength, but then they just had this world-class aerobic capacity, then they're just, you
dominating.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Blow the top
These
off.
like, trail runners, these other types of endurance athletes just, started lifting some weights and then boom, they're like peak obstacle course racing athletes. Do some pull-ups, get stronger.
Yeah.
And they're just smoking the course.
Yeah. And then, people that do it for fun end up, everyone, like, they lose the fun because they think maybe, like, they have to work harder, they're doing something wrong, right? And it's just the reality is competition in sports is competitive.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't necessarily, like, blame yourself, for
Yeah, like I'm not gonna get mad I'm not in the NFL. It's just
Or
I'm just not
NBA,
cut out for it, man.
Speaking of which, if you can ever convince Diego, so he has his like aerobic capacity and just nature for that stuff is like insane.
Yeah, like he just retains it without ever training
but
it.
just like that, he's never been that interested because it's always come very natural to him, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I got to be, more muscle. So, but I remember we ran we did a team relay for the One City Marathon a couple years ago. And our thing was like we wanted to get across a point that none of us had been running, but we were all like a good body composition, which is a big component to efficiently running. And to show people, hey, if you're just healthy and fit, it makes your body very capable to do a lot of things well, right? So myself, Diego, Kristen, and Ben, we did a team and ran it. And we actually ended up getting, we had no training or anything. We got second for the team, whatever we fell under. And, it was fun, but we had Diego do the long leg. It was like from like Mitchell High School to, I want to say
How many
it was
miles was it?
probably like
7
7
or 8?
that 7-8 mile leg. Again, we didn't train for it or nothing.
Which leg did you take, man?
I took the last. I took like the 4 or 5 mile.
The last one.
The finish line leg.
Yeah.
Get all the glory.
That's what it was.
The business owner leg.
Yeah.
And dude, Diego clipped this thing out in like a 6-minute mile clip.
That's ballin'.
And I was just like,
He just got it like that.
and I had the time, so I'm waiting and I'm kind of timing out where I think everyone would be.
And you see him flying.
And basically he cut, like, we get it like really early, and I'm like, I think we're in like first place, and then I got nervous, but and I was like, well, just I don't want no one passing me, and evidently like one person did because we got second, but yeah, so it's insane. And he had said before he moved out here, because he's from Mexico, how he did an obstacle course race. Again, same thing. He kind of trained for it, randomly did it, and like did really well. And yeah, if he wanted to and dove,
He could kill it.
But again, and one time when we were, so I hired him right before I moved, so I wasn't ever really there when he started, when he was there much.
Yeah.
And we would do at Coastal every now and then. We'll do like these timed kind of like ladder type things where it'd be like, a run distance, then you come in and do like some burpees, and then like an air bike, and you start maybe like 20 reps and go down to 15 and 10, with the run. So yeah, cardio kind of challenge that's around like 10 to 15 minutes. And mine's like decent, right? So he was talking all this smack while we were going. And I'm like, a lot of smack. He's like, oh, when you come back, we need to, race and do this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, And then I'm texting Will about it. I'm like, man, he's real confident. And Will's like, dude, I seen him do some things.
Be nervous.
And I was like, nah, man, there's no way.
His motor, bro.
And then we get going doing it. And after like the first round,
you knew.
And he runs past me. He's ahead of me. And he has this calm look on his face. And I was just like, dude, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And, so.
That's his wheelhouse. But if you were to sprint.
Yeah.
There's like, he just doesn't have that fast twitch.
Yep.
Majority of that. Like, I am a pretty fast sprinter. You're a sprinter. But our endurance is kind of garbage compared to him.
So where are you at mentally with, you are a competitive dude. You did fall into this by doing a race. Now you're a coach. You obviously going to have athletes race, and like, that's a great feeling. You're still obviously seeking things that fit in your wheelhouse of, your running and your biceps. But are you able to, maybe when you were younger, did you maybe struggle with that? Are you at like a cool place now? And where's your competitive, mindset at?
I need it. I have to compete. I think competition, doing races is what drives my fitness more than anything. So it keeps me the most motivated. When I have something on the calendar, that's when I'm the most focused on my training. And that's also what I try to share with my athletes. If you're coming to my gym, if you're doing my 5K training programs, it's to kind of get you into the competition mode, to have some non-scale goals to help keep you motivated throughout your fitness journey. I know you guys focus a lot on body composition. I don't really. I pretty much just focus on turning my athletes into better, stronger, more confident athletes. Even just more confident in the gym, which I know is something that you all work on also.
Oh, big time.
Just giving people, the confidence to go, pick up a barbell or, go try the heavier dumbbells. I think, again, just competition gives people permission to care more about what they're doing and to push a little bit harder. So I love competing still.
Yeah, and there's different, and it's funny because, our gyms are opposite in that regard. And one thing I've always seen, and that's, we talk about nuance, right? There's plenty of people who competition makes them not do anything, right? And they shy away. And that's okay. Like, you can do this as fitness can be part of your life, like hygiene, right? And it should be at a base, because we know the benefits of it. And if you don't do anything because you're not competitive, then some people need that voice too, right? And at the same time, by saying that, so I've had to simplify that kind of to my message. And then people think that means I'm saying like competition's bad.
You're anti-competition.
No, I just want people to hear that if you don't want to compete in powerlifting, if you don't want to compete in obstacle racing,
it's cool, man.
You can still do these things and it's okay, right? But the reality is, it's ironic. I'm super competitive. Now, for me, being business and some of the aspects that go into that it can be very competitive, and you have to have a mindset like that, because if you're either growing or you're dying, right?
Sure.
So I get a lot out of that. And then another thing for me that's been weird, I have a very hard time. And not again, it's an awesome thing. It's been great for the fitness industry. Like, I grew up playing sports, so I associate so I can go do like kickball or volleyball, or even like running, and I want to win, right? Exercise, I have a very hard time turning into
a competition.
A competition, so like CrossFit for me, and I did it a few times in the beginning. Like, it was a weird. I just couldn't mentally like block out like thinking about certain things and then just competing
and just
doing with that form. So I think it's important for people to find you got to find some way of competing, and for some people it could just be in the like their actual exercise in the gym, maybe just trying to get better on your main lifts, right? But competition is super healthy, and some form of it, whether it's through work or fitness or gaming, right? You're going to find an outlet somewhere.
Yeah. For us, in the running world specifically, competition isn't what it is in a lot of other places, because we're running these races and we know we're not going to win.
Yeah.
We're not going to win the race.
Competing with yourself.
Yeah. So exactly what I try to instill in my athletes when we're doing these races is it's not about beating anybody else, but it's about using everybody else to bring out the best in yourself.
Yeah.
I
So,
like that.
having someone to chase down will push you to run a little bit faster.
Absolutely.
Having just the full-on energy of the entire event, the adrenaline.
Yeah.
You can't run as fast as you can on a track in a time trial by yourself as you can in a race.
Yeah.
There's no
it
doubt.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And it's even more fun. So that's why I love, like, so you're a running coach and you have your running group, and everything's better with community, right?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, in the way the world's going now, and it's like more isolation. There's less in-person stuff.
Less communication.
And the great thing about fitness is it's something you have to go out in the world and do, which then means there's places you have to be, which then means other people can come and you can create a community around it. So kind of talk about if someone, how does your kind of like running, because I know you also have like a group, then, Facebook group, and y'all meet for runs, and what's that like, and kind of, what you do with that?
So I've got my, gym, Coach Dex Fitness, Performance, Endurance, and then outside of that, I've got the Run Squad, and that's what I really have the most fun with. I'm just taking people from, potentially never having done a 5K before and building them up to their first 5K, which I only do the training groups for 5Ks, but I also take on individual athletes for whatever race, and they're also part of the Run Squad, just not for that specific race.
Yeah.
But we'll choose a race. So, for example, our next race that we're doing is going to be the 5K on the runway. That's at PHF or PFH.
Oh, so the Newport News.
Newport News, yeah.
Newport News.
What is that? Peninsula.
I've never known what it stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it stands for.
It doesn't match up, but
No, it's Patrick Henry flight. I don't know.
that's close
Whatever
enough.
it
I'm going to
says.
accept that as the answer.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's at the airport.
Yeah, so, we'll choose a race, and this next time up, we're going to go 9 weeks out. And it'll be a 9-week training plan. I kind of have each athlete separated into a different group, just depending on what their running history looks like.
That's cool.
And I give them their plan. And I deliver it through an app that's super easy to use. I track their workouts. I help them choose what their paces are. And that's, their easy run paces, which should be most days, and their hard run paces, which are 1 days for some athlete or 2 days for other athletes, just depending on, again, their running history. And we build them up, from wherever they're at to ideally their best performance on race day. And we meet at least once a week at the track to do, it's a team hard workout. Having the rest of the team there really helps to keep you motivated, as well as to make you show up, to hold you accountable to actually showing up. And then we'll have, a couple other meetings throughout the couple of months leading up to the race also. Talk about best race strategies and, clothing, nutrition, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And if you're curious, I also think your Instagram. So we talked about beforehand, like, how hard it is to post on social media, and if you're naturally not an extroverted person, it's like you can get in your own head about everything. But your Instagram is, like, I think super helpful and it's interesting. So at Coach Dex _757. A lot of the stuff we talked about with the pose method, and you break it down into the little chunks. It's funny because I complain when I'm making my reels. It's like you want to elaborate more. But now when I see this, it was something I'm not really an expert in. It's very helpful to see these little teeny clips because it just makes you think or reinforces certain things,
Yeah, my idea, especially with the reels, is that you'll watch 30 minutes of reels before you sit down and watch my 30-minute video on running form. And, I just hope that over time people start to put together those pieces and really, kind of figure it out.
You got a drone or like?
I do have a drone. I do. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I see your videos with the drone, and I'm like, man, I gotta step it up.
You better.
Yeah, I'm not a master with it yet, and it's tough to do it by yourself because.
So you are doing it by like this one here.
Let me see it.
Is that by yourself?
Yeah. So that means you have to like set your phone and your controller down, and it'll track you. So you can
Oh, wow.
follow yourself
That's
and it'll
sick.
track you. But it's never as good as like if someone else were to be flying it
Flying
and
it behind you.
tracking. But it's handy.
It makes for a dope video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to put your phone down and the controller and run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So now like you're away from all this
Yeah.
expensive equipment.
Seagull comes and gets it.
And you're trying not to turn around and look at it.
Yeah, and if something happens with the drone, you don't have the controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to make sure you have like a wide open space, and No one's gonna come snatch up your gear.
Yeah. Do you live out near Buckrow Beach?
Yeah, I live so a block from the beach.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's
That drone video was definitely not at Buckrow Beach though.
this one here.
It's not a drone-friendly area.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah, this
that
We don't have to
video
go
was
into
not-
the specifics, man.
This one here, yeah. That's in South Carolina's beach, right? Folly Beach.
Yeah, that's where it was at.
Speaking of Buckrow Beach, yeah, it's like we did a group workout there the other weekend, and that might not have been at Buckrow Beach. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's nice out there, man. They've done a lot.
They've definitely hooked it up. This past fall and winter, they were doing a ton of work out there, just redoing the whole boardwalk, putting out all those benches and swings, and yeah, it's
It makes
really
people
nice.
want to go out there.
I've been down there for like 10 years now, living out there,
Mhm.
and I've just seen the transformation. It's pretty awesome. People are still afraid of it. They're still going to Fort Monroe instead.
Mhm.
But I'm just like, just come check it out.
Yeah.
promise
I
it's
swear
better
it's
than you
okay.
remember.
Yep. They'll be like, nah, there's guys out there with but
With drones?
yeah, with drones. But cool. So did you any last thoughts or things you want to share? What's the best way for someone to contact you or
Yeah, if they
get to
want
know
your
you?
coaching or anything like that.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me about coaching, best place or the easiest way is just to hit me up on Instagram. Like Gary was saying, Coach Dex _757. If I wanted to give just one short, specific piece of information about running to make you more efficient almost immediately, something actionable, pulling your foot off of the ground is the only thing that you actively do in running.
Mhm.
Everything else is kind of passive or reactionary to pulling your foot off of the ground. So when you're running, the number one thing I want you to think about is pull or up or whatever word helps you think about getting your foot up off the ground. Just think up, 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 rather than reaching forward. You don't think about the foot that's in the air because you don't have to land your foot. If you don't think about putting your foot down, it's still going to land.
Yeah.
Gravity will land your foot. Your goal is to pull your foot up off the ground to get you into the air. So when you pull one foot up, you're in flight phase, then your other foot will automatically come down to catch you. And if you didn't do anything to it, it's going to land pretty close to your center of gravity.
Yeah.
And then again, just think up, pull, pull, pull. And you'll feel lighter, springier almost immediately. And it's all about just kind of hanging on to that feeling.
Do you like people to kind of have that cue in those words and then you kind of repeat it in their head and give them a direction to kind of mentally go?
Yeah, my athletes tell me all the time that they hear me in their head just like pull, 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 pull. Because if we're doing drills, that's what I'm saying. I got the metronome on. I'm like pull, 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 pull.
And
It's helpful, man.
because it's good to have that awareness on your movement, because I think what happens a lot of times is people just mentally crumble and let me just get through this, right? And there's no awareness on their movement, right?
Yeah, and then you go back to the walking movement pattern, which is, kind of what the big cushiony shoes have allowed to happen.
Yeah.
Barefoot, for most people, people who haven't, really ingrained that bad movement pattern yet, when you're walking barefoot, you have a certain amount of pressure on your heel, then you start running, and that pressure increases, which kind of gives you the feedback, hey, it's time to switch from walking form to running form, which are two different movement patterns.
Yeah.
But when you've got that big cushiony heel, you don't feel that pressure increase on your heel, so you maintain that walking movement pattern into running.
Yeah.
So now you're walking, but with these big, giant, loping steps, and it's beating you up.
And the longer you do it, the more it's ingrained, the harder it is to break, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think, the thing people have to realize, and as a coach, is you have to put in the boring work and do the boring work, but you'll be worth it. If you break through that, you'll probably improve your running times. You'll probably have less injuries.
And you're going to
less
feel
pain,
better about the whole
and-
process.
Yeah, and just enjoy it more, right?
I think a lot of people only think that running drills and working to improve your running form is meant for a certain caliber of athlete.
Yeah.
I'm not competitive. I'm not going to the Olympics. I don't have to focus on my running form or do drills. I just have to go out and run. But I mean, if you're running, likely you have the goal of being a better runner.
Yeah.
And how you become a better runner is by working on it,
Yeah.
hitting those drills.
It's have you ever seen the documentary Gyro Dreams of Sushi?
I haven't seen that.
It's
So,
good.
This is an old guy, and he's in Japan, has a Michelin 5-star restaurant, and it's sushi, right? Super simple. But he's so obsessed with every single part of the process. He'll be like, oh, should I cook the rice at like 1 degree different temperature, and where's the water coming from, and then also rolling the sushi. But essentially it's like these same elements, but it's just like, how can I get a little bit better, right?
And he's been doing it for forever.
Yeah. And that's where you find, the motivation and the excitement and the momentum in, the little pieces of the process. So someone could be like, oh, it's just running. It's just moving from point A to point B. If you do that, then you are maybe always going to need some kind of like external motivation, and you fall on and off. But if you can fall in love with, like you said, with, man, let me get from, to pull my foot and these little cues and a little bit better, and that gives you momentum. And then you fall in love with that, and it makes it feel effortless because you're just focused on all these little components.
You've got something to think about. I always try to tell people, when you're running, think about something that's going to help you. And, having these ideas of what you're supposed to be doing, having a better understanding of running will make it more enjoyable. I rarely even run with headphones because I've got something to think about, and it's my technique.
Yeah, that's one thing. So at one point I went through a phase running when I was out in California because the weather was so good. You almost look for reasons to be outside every day.
I bet.
So I was like, and I actually it was like the Maffetone method, which was like, walk, run, and keep your similar principles, keep your in that aerobic zone most of the time. But one of the things I noticed most too, it would help with my breathing, but he recommended not using headphones and music because then you're not paying attention to your internal cues. And I was like, that's crazy. I can't do that. But man, once I got used to it, which didn't take long, like 1 or 2 times really, it made it actually, it just made it more enjoyable and more, I mean, it sounds like hippie and stuff, but you just kind of like connect a little better.
Yeah, you're more present in the run. It's almost like a meditation.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time coming on.
Yeah.
We might have to dive in even more, that we scratched the surface, so people always reach out with details, because we could probably do a whole episode on just, the foot strike, right? But again, Dexter, thanks. And if you want to reach out, hit him up on Instagram. And enjoy all his content.
There's a ton, so. Yeah.
Awesome.
I actually have a running clinic coming up on July 8th, I want to say, whatever that weekend is. So be on the lookout for that as well.
What's kind of the title of it, or just in general, like all over type running, or is there a specific topic?
It's going to be on pose method.
Okay.
So just like teaching people the pattern, kind of teaching them the science behind it, giving them a conceptual grasp of what running actually is. And then we'll be doing drills and video analysis and all that good stuff.
Cool. Where's it at?
It'll be at 757 Rock.
Okay. So if you're in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area, 757 Rock is in Oyster Point City Center. And connect with Dex, and I'm sure he can give you the details on getting set up for that event.
Sure can.
All right, guys. Girls, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.
See you. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.